Into the wild I'll go, and into the wild I am. It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home. Into the wild I'll go, and into the wild I am. It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home.
Welcome to the Freebirth Society podcast. This is a radical space for women who are ready to celebrate their autonomous choices in birth, motherhood, and beyond. Together, we'll learn about wild birth through personal narrative, we'll explore the politics of birth, and we'll analyze everything that relates to our lives as women from a feminist perspective. Here's your host, Emily Saldea.
It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home.
Hello, women. I've got a great episode for you today. I am bringing you the bright and oh so charming Bibi, once medical midwife turned free birther and now holistic midwife. I love when that happens. Before we get started, I am wanting to remind you about our retreat this spring with elder midwife Sister Morningstar and myself. I'm calling it Midwife Within, not because it's for midwives. It's really for any and all interested women, but because I understand that for most of us, maybe all of us, there is a midwife within, a maternal caretaker that aches to know the ways of the village midwife. I've dreamed of offering this retreat for a long time, so I'm really excited to open it up to you, to host you on my land, and to take you through what will be a truly magical 5 days. I mean, a village prenatal on Mother's Day with Sister herself. Come on. You can register at matriarchrisingfestival.com/midwifewithin, and you can always email us with any questions you have at info@freebirthsociety.com. Okay, so Bibi became a licensed medical midwife at 19. She had never heard of free birth, but when she became pregnant with her own child, it was an obvious no that she would expose herself and her baby to, well, where she worked. This is an important story. Enjoy. Bibi, welcome to the show.
Hi, Emily. Thank you so much for having me.
This is going to be more interesting than I even realized.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Okay, let's get right into it. So all I know is that you are a registered midwife in Australia. You have 3 babies. One is a set of twins. You free birthed all of them. So there just feels like so much ground for us to cover here. So why don't you just start wherever you want? You know, which comes first, the midwifery, the medical midwifery, or the baby? And just take it away. Tell us who you are as you get pregnant with that first.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did my studies in midwifery when I was 19 years old.
Oh.
And in Italy. Then I came to Australia. I did uni again, and then I started working in the system. When I fall pregnant with my first baby, that was in 2018. I was working in Queensland. I was building refugee clinics. So for women that were coming from refugee countries, we were doing continuity of care. So they will have same midwives from 6 weeks from 12 weeks up until 6 weeks. And that's when I fall pregnant with my first baby. It was a very interesting time of my life because I've started to notice that was my first time being with the woman for such a long time. I've always been part of the fragmented care at the hospital, and that was normal to me. First time being involved in continuity of care, and it was very exciting because I was seeing how women actually had positive birth, positive breastfeeding. Everything was so normal and so perfect. And so I thought to myself, well, that is what I want as well for my pregnancy, birth, and, breastfeeding. So when I was pregnant, I decided that I wanted a private midwife because my idea was to have a home birth. Because as a midwife, I've seen it all at the hospital.
Right.
And for me, it was not going to be my safe place. As we say to women, you should birth where you feel safe. The hospital was not going to feel safe to me as a Black woman, as a midwife, as the person that I was. So I wanted.
Do you mind pausing there for a second?
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear a little bit more about, from this really inside perspective of you working in the system. That's so profound that you, through your profession, come to realize that the hospital will not be safe for you and your baby. Can you articulate how you came to know that?
Yeah. So I think like what refugee women taught me, and I feel like everything was just like all this story, it was just all so meant to be for me to be here in this moment, because when I took the job with refugee women, I knew nothing. Like I was just a baby. I knew nothing, and they just said to me like, oh, Bibi, it's fine. We just have babies. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, no, it's just normal, because they're coming from countries where it's either you get that baby out vaginally or you get it out vaginally. The end. So when they came to Australia, it was just the same. So whenever they call me, they're like, okay, we're ready to have a baby. I'll get into the hospital and off you go, baby. There's no label, there's nothing, baby. I was like, wow, like, what is this, And I just learned that from them, that labor and birth actually can be easy if we just let them be. And so for me, I was like, I just want to be let be, I don't want people to touch me or just come into my environment. I just wanted to just have my birth as I wanted at home, undisturbed. And that was it. That was my dream.
So you came to understand that as you learned trust in birth, you came to understand that couldn't unfold that way in the hospital.
No.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that sounds like
no, not for me. Not for me, because for me, it's like when I go into the hospital, because I work there, I was working there, I could anticipate everything. And so that would have put somewhat a level of higher anxiety for me, because I see a trolley, I know you want to put an IV in me, so it's like, I see the future when I go in. So for me, I was like, no, I could not have birth
you just
hospital.
Know the truth.
Yeah.
It's just, you understand how it works. It's interesting because I think the vast majority of women, mothers who work in labor and delivery and postpartum, they're such a deep part of the cult that they submit themselves to go through the assembly line as a part of fitting in to the culture in which they work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's pretty not acceptable in a lot of hospital culture I've been exposed to not go through. Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it can be intense.
So you come to realize birth works, F the hospital. I want a private midwife. What happens next?
Well, I hired a private midwife thinking this is the best thing that I could do. Supporting a colleague, having my private midwife. And then around 20 weeks, I had my morphology scan. During this morphology scan, they found out that I had 3 fibromas, about 5 centimeters each. In Australia, when you do have a private midwife that has got hospital rights, every month they do a case study. So they have to show the women that they are going to attend the home birth. So my private midwife is showing my case with my 3 fibromas and the obstetrician at the hospital, because she's got rights at the hospital in case, she has to go in it just means she doesn't lose the care of the patient, of the woman. So the obstetrician said, well, she can't birth at home. She's going to hemorrhage, she can die, and yada, yada, yada. You know the story. So she came to me and she said, well, you can't birth at home. So
it's interesting how the system intentionally uses the opposite word, like a private midwife, right? And in England, independent midwives are not that at all. Like there's nothing private about what you just described, because private leads us to believe that this woman works for you.
Yeah.
It's so tricky.
Yes. So that day for me was the end of the world. I started crying so much.
Yeah.
My eyes were coming out of my face. I was driving home, got home, couldn't see the road, had a little accident in my garage.
Oh my God.
I was desperate. Almost had a panic attack, laying on the floor, being like, this is the end of the world. So my husband was really gentle with me. I'm like a bit, dramatic, of course. So he held space for me. And at one point, I don't know where, out of the blue, I was like, what if I just do it by myself?
Yeah.
And so I fired the midwife. I was like, you're fired. I don't need you, because I want to have a home birth. And then I started Googling. And then you came up.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So the Freebirth Society came up. And I think maybe there was like a Facebook group, could be 2018,
2018,
something like
yeah.
that.
That was before all the drama.
Yeah. Yeah. So I started researching. I'm like, what is this Freebirth? I'm like, so keep in mind, that is like beginning of 2019.
Yeah.
I have been a midwife for 10 years.
Oh my God.
No idea about free birth. No idea that women could consciously, choose to just birth at home without a midwife.
Right.
And I'm like, what?
Wow.
And that's when I decided that I was going to free birth with my first son.
And so that's the second half of your pregnancy that all of this is coming into view for you. So just keep telling us the story. What happens next and how does the birth go?
So I dropped everything. I was like, okay, well, that's it. I'm just going to have a free birth. I was like so happy, But I did something very stupid of me because I was very naive at that point. I was really a baby, like the version you see today of me. It's, oh my gosh, goddess, really, but I was a baby. And so what I did is I told my colleagues and I told my manager, and I'm like, hey, you can free birth. And my colleagues, the first thing she said to me is like, yeah, but what if you kill your baby?
Yeah.
And your baby's like dead.
Yeah.
I'm like, and like, if you're not like in the system, you don't like really know. But this kind of conversation, it's like every day. You could kill your baby could die. This can happen. This other thing can happen. Like, it's very normal, this type of, I guess, talking to women that are pregnant, But I was pregnant as well. And I was very fragile at that point. And I understood very quickly that I had to protect my space. And so from that day, I was like, yeah, that's fine. I will birth at the hospital. So I just said that I was going to birth at the hospital, but I knew that I wasn't going to birth at the hospital. I told my husband, I got him ready. I said, we need to do this.
How worried were you about the fibroids? Like, did that mess with you at all?
Nah.
Okay.
Nah. Like, honestly, when she said that, for me, I was like, this is just an excuse, because that's silly, like, all women have fibroids, and we do know that during pregnancy they can become a little bit bigger because of the hormones. So I was like, oh, I don't care, like, it wasn't a bit, for me, it was like something so silly that I'm like, I can't believe you're telling me I can't birth at home for the possibility that maybe
100%.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. You're speaking to a midwife, you know what I mean? So I was like, no, like, no, really. So,
and you're speaking to a disillusioned midwife.
Yeah.
Right? Specifically.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, no.
Okay, so
what happened there
lock
is
you lock it down. You're like, oh shit, this is a totally different terrain. I'm not telling anyone. Of course I'm going to birth at the hospital.
Yeah. So to do that though, because I didn't want them to know anything about me in the hospital where I was working, I went to another hospital to do a booking in visit. So it's just a visit. You say you're pregnant. Yes. Okay. You good. Bye. So went into the visit. So I'm quite small, short. I'm like about 155, 156 centimeter. So I grow my belly at the front, right? So the obstetrician looks at me and he's like, oh my gosh, your belly is so big. I don't think this baby is going to come out vaginally. We need to do a scan. Like that.
What would a scan show? Like, it's such a dumb freaking thing. Oh,
I know. And keep in mind, I was already 36 weeks there, so I was ready, so I said, okay, that's fine. Just, I didn't want to do any drama at that point because I was so in tune with my plan that I was like, I'm not going to make anybody ruin it. So I said, that's fine. Just give me this slip. I took the slip, left the hospital, put it in the bin, went back home and just kept doing my thing.
Oh,
right?
Girl.
That was my thing. So I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And then around 40 weeks, roughly 40, maybe plus 1 day, plus 2, I don't even know. The contraction started. So before actually the contraction started, I said to my husband, I think we're going to have a baby tomorrow. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, no. I think we're going to have a baby tomorrow. So I said, let's go for a walk. We went for a walk, came home. We had some spicy food. And then I used some clary sage. I said, let's just have this clary sage. And tomorrow we're having a baby. He's like, okay. Because my husband is in defense. So the 25th, he had to go on March. So we're like, we need to have the baby before the 25th of April.
Oh, goodness. Oh, my gosh. Okay.
So I was like, yeah, we're going to have a baby. We're going to have a baby. So anyway, on the night of the 24th, I started having my contractions. And they were just normal, like Braxton Hicks, I would say. And it was about midnight. So I didn't wake up anybody because I used to have those all night. So I was like, sounds pretty normal to me. And then I think I started like turning on the shower because it's like, I'll just go in the shower and see whether they go away or not. Because I'm like, I always say to women, just go in the shower. If they go away, then that's fine. So I'll jump in the shower. So went into the shower and they were still there. So I woke up my husband around 1 a.m. and I said, I think I'm starting to be in labor. So maybe just start, the bowl, the candle, like all these things. Like I just wanted everything perfect because I was like, nothing has to ruin the best day of our life, like nothing. So around 1, so I was feeling well, to be honest. I was feeling well. I was happy. I was dancing. I was smiling. I was so full of joy, and for me, I was not in labor yet. But at one point I threw up. So when I threw up, actually my mom woke up because my mom was here from Italy. So she woke up and she's like, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just, I just threw up. Fine, right? So the contractions started and they were just coming, but not painful. Like there was nothing painful at that point. So I said to my husband, look, I've been a midwife for 10 years. I know how these things go. I'm a primate. So I was talking to him as a midwife, right? Medical professional. I'm like, I'm a primate. This is my first baby. It could go for 36 hours. So how about you go and take a camera? We'll take some pictures. I'll put some clothes on. But I said, let me just check before you go. So I put my finger to see how many centimeters I was. And I could feel the head of the baby, but I could feel the cervix. So I was like this, like 2 to 3 centimeters. I'm like, that's fine. Just go. So I send him out. It's 2:15. Send him out. And then I was just like drying myself and getting ready. And then at one point, I just bear down and yell, and the head came out.
Oh my God.
So my husband like quickly come in and he took a picture of the head. And he's like, what the? And then I'm like, oh. And that's it. And the baby was out.
That is chill.
That's it. But so there was no pain, nothing, no pushing, nothing.
This is amazing. I also love the medical midwife in you, in the room, doing what they all do, thinking that the centimeters means anything, you know? And like talking yourself out of it.
So
That's
naive.
So funny. Wow. And his little head just comes right out. So how from 1 p.m. when is it? 1 a.m. When is it now that he's born?
2:18.
Ah, that is fast.
Very.
But pain-free.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's no pain. Nothing. So I was like, oh, this was like so easy. I'm like, I can't believe I just did this, you know? It was extremely easy. And when he came out, he didn't even cry. That freaked me out because I'm used to like baby coming out and just crying. Came out and just looked at me like that.
Peaceful.
And I was like, I didn't know that babies could be born like just like looking at you. And that was it.
Wow.
And that was it. And then the placenta came as well, like 2 minutes after. There was no bleeding, nothing, like it was all good.
Wow.
It was just a very quick, fast.
Amazing.
Fast. So I knew I needed some stitches. So I did go later to get the stitches. And it turned out that it was a 3rd degree, but it was like a physiological 3rd degree. So it wasn't like they just put stitches and everything was normal. Went back. I discharged myself. Actually, they're like, oh no, you have to stay here 2 nights with the catheter and everything. And I was like, no. So I went, got a syringe, got my catheter out, and I said, give me the paper, I'm out.
And are
I
you now, because that was what, 5 years ago? Or
that
4
was
years?
4 years and a half ago.
So are you like hip to the truth about vaginal tearing now, that like you didn't need that? And like, of course that will heal. And
look, when everything happened, I was like, what? I got a 3rd degree. I'm like, no, just take a picture. I do not believe you. And they took a picture and it was a 3rd degree. And that was like, it was so fine, honestly, that because whenever I saw 3rd degree, they were provoked. I mean, an episiotomy extended, a forceps, a ventus, like provoked 3rd degree. So those are like nasty. Mine was, just a normal tear, I guess, like just a tear. And I always say to women, don't be scared of tear because you'll be fine.
But I mean, like, do you now know 4 years later that the sutures weren't necessary?
Oh, yeah.
Like that you would have totally healed.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, this whole thing that we're all doing of just like climbing out of our medical programming and our conditioning, and just every year and every baby, we just learn so much.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. So you go and then you come back, and that sounds like somewhat undramatic.
Yeah. And so that's it.
And then who are you now? Like now you have this free birth and baby, you're a registered midwife, and what happens next?
I breastfeed the baby for 21 months.
Naturally.
So I was just like being a mom. And then I was like, and then, COVID hit. My husband went away for 7 months.
Whoa.
And I thought, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I was here by myself with my kid, couldn't leave Australia. So I was like, okay, I'll go back and work. So I was just doing part-time, like 2 days a week. And it just kept me sane, really. I needed something at that point. But when he was back, I was like, I'm ready. Let's go again. And so I was ready. So fell pregnant. And I was really sick, so I had to go to the hospital around 8 weeks because I just couldn't even open my eyes. I couldn't even walk. So I went in there and they're like, oh, we're just going to do a scan. And I'm like, no, you don't need any scan right now.
What did you go in there for? What did you want them to do?
Fluids. Just needed some fluids because I was throwing up like everything. Like I could not keep down like anything. It was crazy. So I just wanted some fluids so I could go home and keep living my life. And so they gave me fluids, went home, and then a couple of weeks after, I went in for my first scan. And surprise, they were twins. So I cried. And I was happy, but I also cried a lot.
Of course, because it's so intense.
Because I wanted to have a free birth again. And I'm like, well, now I need to have a Caesar. And I have to have, scan every 2 weeks. They have to measure the babies, the placenta, the floors. This was going all through my head, This was me. And then I was going to work. And I'm like, I went on your podcast. And I'm like, let me see. Twin free birth. And then someone had free birth the twin.
Of course.
I think someone in Hawaii, if I can remember right, someone from Hawaii. And so I listened to this story and I went down the rabbit hole. And I'm like, what? You can actually free birth twins, like naturally at your home by yourself? And so I started researching and just informing myself, educating myself. And I was like, so you're telling me that I don't need to have a Caesar. I don't need to have all these scans. And I can also have my free birth the same way I did with my son.
And so in fact, that's the safest, healthiest possible route you could take.
Yeah, it is.
Right? You think the hospital's dangerous for a medical midwife, Black woman, all the stuff with a singleton. They're going to just put you in surgery and risk your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, for me, I'd rather die than have a Caesar. That was me, and I was totally. No. So I didn't tell my husband straight away. I was going to prepare him for this. I think it was a bigger thing than, with Milo, because they were twins. And so what happened is we went for the morphology scan, and we were just we were still into the COVID situation, So I'm sitting waiting for my morphology scan. And let's say the room is about 20 meters from where I'm sitting with my husband. And they're like, oh, he can't come in. I'm like, why? Oh, well, new rules, policy, whatever. And I'm like, who do you think put these babies in me? And he is sitting next to me. I mean, that's
not okay, about you.
Mask, whatever,
It's not even about you. It's also not about logic.
Yeah,
as we
exactly. So I kind of had a panic attack then. And I just realized that if there is something that I really want, is the support of my husband.
Yeah.
And that day I really made the decision, and I said, you know what? I tell you what, we'll do the scan and then you never see me again. And that was it. I disappeared. Nobody knew what I was doing unless you check my Instagram. So I didn't do any more scan. I didn't do any more antenatal visits. And I just lived my life, lived my pregnancy, went to the beach every second day, and listened to your podcast every day. And then there was also another group on Facebook, reading two stories and trusting my babies, trusting my body. And and I was ready for my next free birth.
Okay, take us into it. How does that all go?
So I think the pregnancy with the twins, it's been very challenging. not challenging for like, yes, my body, but challenging because I received a lot of negativity. People were saying to me, you are so crazy. You're going to kill your babies. You are so dangerous.
Wow.
It's been really hard and very difficult because at that point I had already 300,000 followers on TikTok and, lots more. Yeah, it was.
Oh, so this was all online, what you're referencing. So were you public? Yeah, but let me make sure I have that. So you were public on your social media about that your plan to free birth twins?
At that point, yes.
Oh, well, of course it was insane. Of course. Yeah, that they love that.
At that point, yes, I was public. So what happened is that at one point I was like, okay, I need to really, protect my space now, protect my energy, protect my babies. And so I kind of like disconnected a little bit from everybody. And that was really good. I was really happy about it. And people thought that, I would never get to past 37 weeks. So Christmas Day, I'm like 37 weeks and everybody's like, Merry Christmas. Are you pregnant yet? Are you still pregnant? I was like, yeah, I'm still pregnant. Really, really pregnant. So after that, I was about 38 weeks and 2 days. And I said to my husband, okay, we're ready to have the babies. That's it. Because New Year's Eve was gone and everything was fine. They were past the 38 weeks. Like I wanted them to come after 38 weeks because, a lot of time twins, 37 weeks, a little bit like, they don't suck well the breast. And I wanted to breastfeed as well. So I said,
your reference point with twins is surgical twins.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I've seen physiologically born twins at 35, 36, 37 weeks and they suck just fine.
Yeah.
But the damage of the assembly line in surgery is profound.
Yeah. And I think like has to do with a lot of things, like everything that is just putting, the stress, the scan, like the ultrasound, like all of that, together. So I just stayed away from everything. 38 weeks and 2 days. I'm like, okay, we're ready. Gonna have babies tomorrow. I said to my husband. So went to the beach, had a nice day at the beach, did some squat in the water, came home, went for a walk again because I know what works. And then he burned the sage. I'm like, yeah, sage is gonna do the thing. So I burned the sage, we went to bed, and then around 4 a.m., my water broke while I was in the bed. So I just ran into the bathroom and then like just as in the movie, splash all the water like on the ground, right? And that, again, my midwife came up, I'm panicking because I'm like, oh my gosh, I broke my water. It's no contraction. Like this is going to take forever. I'm going to stay here 3 days waiting for this contraction. I'm like, no, you are coming now. I was talking to the babies. So I started squatting, using some clary sage, walking, like doing all the things just because I was like, no, I'm so tired. Like I'm not staying here waiting for you. That's it. It's go time. And then at 5 a.m., I had my first contraction. I was so happy. Wow. Like this, it felt like a contraction. Like it wasn't painful, but it felt different from the Braxton Hicks. So I was like, oh, yes. So I woke up my husband. I said, hey, we're going to have babies. So I woke him up. And then after 5 minutes, I have another contraction. And then after 5 minutes, and then it's about 5:20. And I've had about 4 contractions. And I said to my husband, maybe go and wake up my mom so that, we're all here. Because my mom, there's a lot of story back, but just to make it short, my mom had twins. So I have twin sisters. However, when she had the first one, it was kind of an accident. Baby just came out. But with the second, everybody panicked in the room. They put her to sleep and they did like a longitudinal, so a vertical incision. And so
my God!
This was in Italy. So she woke up, no babies, not knowing where she was. They also left half of the placenta inside. So she had to go back. She had an infection. The babies were in the NICU, which was like 3 kilometers away from where she was. So for her,
Wow.
there was a lot of trauma there, and I wanted and I needed this birth to go the way I wanted to for me and for her. So I woke her up. So I said to my husband, it's 5:20. I've had 4 contractions. Go and get her. So my husband go and get her. And the first baby comes out.
Did she get to see the first one?
Nobody was there, just me. I was like, what? And they're like, what happened? What happened?
No,
they came in. I was like,
does she live with you or she just was staying because of the baby?
She came from Italy just for the baby.
She lives in Italy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She came from Italy for the babies to be with me for 3 months because my mom, she's from Nigeria. And in Nigeria, when your daughter like becomes a mom, as her mother, you have the duty to, be there for the for the birth and the postpartum.
Beautiful.
So yeah, so she came for that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so the first baby come out, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's no picture, there's no video again. She was fine, just the cord was short. So I was planning to keep everything attached, but unfortunately the cord was too short, so we had to cut. So we cut the cord, and because during the scan they told me there were 2 placenta, I was waiting for the placenta. But the placenta didn't come. So I said, I think I need to focus for the second twin. So I gave the baby to my husband. And then I said to my husband, can you just like put the camera so that, we can at least have a video of the second twin. Then I'm like, just take some pictures of me in the meantime. And this is like 5:35.
Having this pain-free 4 contraction birth. God. It's amazing.
So this is like 5:35, and the contraction started to pick up again, finally. And I was like, okay, yes, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready. And the second baby was breech. So I was waiting for a breech baby. What happened is I had a cramp in my leg. So I bent down. And as I bent down, I could see my mom that she was scared. Mm-hmm. She was very scared in that moment, and it's like I was about to birth, but I couldn't. Mm-hmm. And so I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, you have to get out.
Yeah.
You have to get out. And so in that moment, she got out. She just went out. And as she stepped out of the bathroom, the baby came out.
Oh my God. Wow.
And that's the video that everybody I've seen. It's just the video of the baby like just coming out, that I'm just like putting the baby up like that, because literally the baby just flew out and that was it. And she was head down. She wasn't breech. So she must have turned, maybe, who knows. But she was head down. She was sunny side posterior. Didn't even notice that. Someone told me not long ago. I was like, oh, really? Well.
Who cares?
And after that, I cuddled the babies. Had to cut the cord because the cord was too short. Cuddle the babies. And then I'm like, okay, we got to get these 2 placentas because there's 2 more placentas to come. And then I felt something really big. And I thought it was a 3rd baby. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? And all of a sudden, one gigantic placenta comes out.
Connected, yeah.
Like that. And I was like, oh my God.
They're huge. Yeah, they're huge.
Huge.
Wow.
Huge.
Beautiful.
And that was it.
I bet that felt like a 3rd baby. I wonder how much really that big. Puppy weighed. Gosh. So one came out, and you cut the cord, and then the other came out and you cut the cord, and then the placenta came out and it was 2 fused, essentially?
Well, we will never really know because it looked like 1 placenta to me, but let's say maybe they fused, but we will really never know because if you looked at, like I've seen fused placenta and that looks like 1 placenta.
Yeah, but they both kind of have their like, well, like I've seen twin placentas where it's like two, like the umbilical cord insertion is there's two on one big one versus like two placentas that come together and they're like their own big old placentas and there's a fusion point.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes. I think like even like, cause then after 3 hours I went into the hospital and they didn't know even.
Why?
Oh, I had so what happened there? Well, this is a bit of a backstory. So I was so scared because I told myself that I was not going to have like just a quick birth. I wanted to like control like the end of the birth because I didn't want to have like a third degree. I wanted to have like a small degree, so I was going to stay at home. But the birth was so quick that I was like, no, I did it again. So my fear was that I had split more than before because of the two babies. My husband couldn't see, my mom couldn't see, I couldn't see. My belly was still really big. I couldn't bend. So I said, all right, you know what? We'll go to the hospital. So I called them. I said, look, I'm just going to have eggs, going to have breakfast, going to breastfeed the babies, and then I'll come and see you. You check down there, and then I go. Plus, it was really easy for paperwork as well. So went in, got my paperwork. They checked. It was a tiny one, you know, it wasn't a third one. So I said, yeah, that's fine. You can put stitches and then I'll go. So they put maybe 1 or 2 stitches. I don't know what they did, but I was like, okay, I'm going. So then I left and came home and the baby slept for like 10 hours. and so did I.
Did they just stay home with mom or dad? With your mom?
No, they came. Yeah, they came with me. Kids came with me. Yeah, they came with me, and then we came back home, and then that was it. I breastfed them. Had a lot of milk. Each twin had the breast. They fed so well. One of the twin has a tongue tie. They didn't even notice at the hospital. I noticed because she was chewing on my nipple, you know. But that was fine. Like she's attached really well. She breastfed until 13 months. Then she weaned herself out, which was very sad. And the other one is still breastfeeding. So.
And how old are they?
They are 21 months now.
Okay.
So they're gonna be 2 in January. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Yes. And I think the next part of the story is that for me, this birth was like, I felt like I was reborn. I was reborn as a mother, as a woman, as a midwife. Like I truly understood what type of work I want to do in this world now as a midwife. And it's very different from what I learned because I've got 2 degrees in midwifery. It's very different from what I learned and from what I did, you know. And now I know what I want to do, of course. But unfortunately, after the birth of my twins, I had a lot of negativity. A lot of people coming at me. And it was not easy at all. And so that was, you know, the other side where people were like, but what if that happened? What is that? It was really dangerous what you did. You shouldn't talk about it and and all of that. And that is also why, like, for about 1 year, I was just like, shall I tell my story? Like, shall I let people know that actually you can do this? Actually, we are meant to do this. Actually, like our body can do anything if we let it do and if we trust it, you know? And it took me like a very long time. And then I went to Bali and I had my vision, let's say that way, in Bali. And I was like, no, I need to talk. I need to speak and I need people to know that you can have a beautiful birth. Like you absolutely can. And for me, I cannot even imagine where I would be or what person I would be if I haven't had this birth with my kids, you know?
Totally.
They were, oh my gosh, transformational.
And like, that kind of stuff, like the what if and oh my God, it's so dangerous. Like, it's beneath you. Like, it's nothing. It's gnats on a windshield. It's nothing, because only completely indoctrinated, like agents of industrial allopathy are gonna concern troll you like that. Like, it's not even interesting. I mean, that's how I feel now. Like, it's like somebody saying like, but what if, is so ignorant and like low consciousness, and it's only speaking from their own unknowing, right? That's like someone who knows birth, someone who knows themselves, doesn't give their agency over to the state, period. Someone who knows themselves, an embodied woman, an embodied mother, doesn't show up at a facility and surrender herself and her baby. So when the system, anyone within it, which is everyone, sees women like you, it's like it doesn't fit into the reality that they have been groomed into, right? And of course you must speak, because unfortunately so many women and mothers have been caught up in the evil web of this. They're not idiots. They're not trolling you. They just genuinely don't know. And that's what this podcast has really done, right? Is like, oh shit. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of women now that are just, trailblazing this, lighting this new path. Anyway, I mean, this is I want everyone to hear this, because any one of you who's going to do anything like this publicly is going to get the same little collection of bullshit. And an embodied woman ultimately is willing to learn how to generate our own sense of approval, right? So that we can stand in our truth. And if you are a woman who still really cares what everyone else thinks, that's your work, because you're not living a life for yourself yet. And when you do, like, the path gets shown, right? It's not complicated. And there's so much, here for us in motherhood, in pregnancy, to wake up to. Yeah. I love your story. So would you say more before we end about how this has changed your midwifery vision?
Yeah. Well,
you know who you're talking to.
It has changed it in a way that I thought to myself, and look, like, this is like the truth. I thought to myself, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the system, and then I'm going to try and change things in the system, right?
Uh-huh.
And I did it for like 4 months, and I'm like, this. No. I am out of here.
Yeah. Like, hey, look, girlfriend, if you can't birth there, you can't work there. Right?
I was just like, what, nah, like, what is going on? It was just like, I just couldn't. Like, I tried, and I just feel like, and like what I was saying to someone today, it's like, literally, it's like you saying, hey, we're just going to hell, and we're going to try and make the devil change their mind. And it's like, no, no. So now the work that I do, it's all from the outside. I try to do it like through social media as well, a lot, and just try to educate a little bit more women, because as you said, I think, like, and even for me, I just did not know, and so I truly know that there is a lot of women out there that they just don't know. And not just that, they just living from a place of fear, of course. And then when there is fear, everything is clouded. And for me, I'm like, you know what? With my twins, I had such a strong intuition. Like, I visioned the birth. Like, I knew the birth was going to be that way. I told my mom, I told my friend, I told my sister, and it went exactly that way. So I had such a level of intuition that I'm like, what if women all had this level of intuition without all the noise? That means that you could actually tell me when something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You could actually tell me when you know that everything is fine.
Yeah.
And so I guess my work now, it's kind of gotten deeper. So I am working more with women to help them to find that intuition, especially during pregnancy, to be able to tune with the babies, because, birth is like an initiation for you as a mother and for the baby as well. And we don't want the women to be in a trauma and the baby to be in trauma, because that then get passed for future generations. So I guess my work now, it's more there. It's not clinic anymore. It's not clinic at all. It's all on another level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How could it not be? Right? Like, you can't have those birth experiences get initiated into the ecstasy of birth and the possibility of birth and the reality of birth, and then go back to an inherently abusive, hierarchical dynamic with women. That just doesn't make sense.
I really don't even have the energy. I've got 3 kids,
Yeah. Well, it's not in alignment with what you know to be true.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Amazing. So how can women find you? I'm sure they'll want to.
I have a lot of different social media, but for the English speaking, it's your_holistic midwife. So you will see English content there.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's Instagram?
Instagram, yeah. And TikTok as well. TikTok is Bibi, your holistic midwife. So yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you staying up late so that I could hear your story. And
thank you so much for having me. And I knew this day was going to come, because when I was listening to the stories, I'm like, I'm going to go on that podcast. I'm going to tell the story of my twins.
Yeah, all of it. And the midwifery evolution is so powerful, because I know a lot of medical midwives listen to this podcast and they make up that they're stuck. And it's not true. It's just not true. Everything is a choice, and so hopefully this will inspire.
Everything, it is a choice. And, for me, what I can say, and look, I've got all my friends, midwives, they don't work in the system. We all do our things. So there are lots of us out there, and it's just a matter of, making a decision and just go with it, and it's going to be fine. It will be fine, we are doing the right things. We are on the right path. We just have to keep going and trusting women.
Well, right. And it's like, when you are on your deathbed, what do you want to say about what you contributed to the world? And do you want to say that you spent the majority of your life upholding industrial birth? Or do you want to say that you were one of the women that stood for women and stood for babies and stood for health and stood for embodiment? And it just doesn't have to be that complicated of a decision, really. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. It was so nice to connect. I hope you enjoyed the show today. You can support this podcast by donating to it on freebirthsociety.com and leaving an awesome review on whatever platform you listen on. The more reviews, the more visibility the show gets, so let's spread the word of sovereign birth. We've always got a lot going on at Free Birth Society, and you can find out about all of it at freebirthsociety.com, at Free Birth Society on Instagram, and opt in to my newsletter below in the show notes. We offer courses on free birth, authentic midwifery, and the blood mysteries, as well as one-on-one coaching, in-person retreats, and of course, our annual Women's Festival. Our exclusive, vetted, private membership is definitely something to check out if you're looking for a community of wise sisters. Together we rise. We must speak our stories, claim our lives, and support one another. This is the living revolution, and I am so grateful to be in it with all of you. I'll leave you with our epic Free Birth Society theme song, Wild Woman by Aruba Red.
I honor you for the wisdom you held, the ancient traditions of plant medicine and womb magic. I feel the spirit of the ancestors as I place my hands upon my belly. This sacred portal will be honored. Eons upon light beams of survival, withstanding the eradication of our power by design. I will not allow the separation of our young to be forced upon me. My sisters will no longer birth in captivity. The picket line redefined from burning our wild women to paralyzing us and drugging our babes. Strapped down in a clinical white bed, drying up the milk from our breasts. Keep your needles. My family will never again be doomed to chase those dragons or your poison. We reject your fear. We choose love. Everything with intention. Death, ascension. I will fly and bring her back